Hello everyone, I'm Beastly Eel, and in today's video we're going to be talking about the latest episode of X-Men 97. So there is a lot going on, and basically what I'm going to tell you is, if you have not seen this, there are heavy spoilers up ahead. So I'm warning you now, so that way, if you get spoiled, that's on you. That being said, if you've skipped this part and wanted to get right to the meat and the potatoes, and now you're mad that you didn't get the spoiler alert, that's on you, not me. So anyway, let's get right into it. So this episode starts at the funeral of Gambit. We actually have the death of the X-Men, specifically, obviously, Gambit. So this is one of the sadder parts, and there's a very specific person missing from said funeral, aka Rogue. We'll talk about that a little. So Nightcrawler is the priest there who is doing the eulogy for Remy. Very sad, very depressing. Um, Hits you right in the feels. I mean, you couldn't not get hit in the feels from this conversation, right? So then we have Rogue, quite literally living up to her name by going rogue. Um, she is hunting down facility after facility looking for the creator of the Sentinels because she wants to know exactly who, well, basically where he is, because she knows he has to be behind that gigantic Sentinel in some sort of capacity. So because of that, she goes to this base that apparently introduces the fact that the Incredible Hulk does exist in this universe. How do we know that? Well, when she starts destroying this base, we see none other than Colonel Ross. And for those of you who don't know who that is the love interest's father of Bruce Banner, Betty Ross. And he even makes a comment to prove that the Incredible Hulk does exist in this universe by stating there's no way Rogue can get in here because the facility was designed to capture the Hulk. So therefore she couldn't get in. Well, we get to see how powerful Rogue is, and she gets in, destroys all of their equipment, and she demands to know everything Ross has knowledge of. Well, he doesn't give it up. So she absorbs his memory to get the information she's looking for. So she then goes hunting for um not the creator of the Sentinels, but Trask, I believe is his name. I might be mixing up the two. It's not the creator of the Sentinels, it's the other guy that we've seen in the past. And she's now looking for his prison. Um, During this time, before I get to the next part for Rogue, we have the X-Men trying to get help from not only the UN, excuse me, but also from the President of the United States. President Kelly is refusing to help because he's afraid that if he shows signs of wanting to help mutants, he's going to lose votes. Now, Scott Summers is not happy with that comment, but mostly what um, Kelly says is basically he'd rather make sure that he stays in office than somebody else who is less compassionate towards mutants. And Scott's still not a fan of that and basically says we'll deal with this ourselves. So the X-Men head to none other than Genosha. So they go en route to Genosha. Um, Rogue goes to a remote place. I don't know where. I'm assuming in the United States, but I don't know that for a fact. We, all of a sudden, have a little face to face again, Rogue versus Captain America. And this was very interesting to see overall. He basically shows her everything that he is aware of right now. OZT or ZOT? No, OZT. Apparently, is this organization um, that is basically running the Sentinels right now, and actually, we don't know that quite yet. But now you do. No, but the big thing here is the fact of like he's basically trying to show her everything that he knows. So he thinks that the other guy, I can't even think of his name, Strass. I want to say that's it, but anyway, not the point. Um, they basically go in and kind of, I guess, how do I want to phrase this? Um, He basically wants to form a team to go into New Mexico where that guy is being held and take him back to the United States. Unfortunately, um, doesn't work out that way. Basically, Rogue's not happy. She escapes, throws his shield away because she's sick and tired of his BS, and then she heads over to New Mexico. So while that's going on, we see the X-Men at Genosha. Sorry, I drew a blank for a second. They begin to kind of try to figure out and put the pieces back together and kind of fix Genosha. We see Beast is turning more into Magneto in the sense of that humans are a problem. We definitely see that kind of duality between him and the reporter, and he's just pissed off with the reporter. They then apparently Cyclops and Jean, after having a heart to heart talking about their problems and everything else, she finds a psychic mutant who happens to be none other than Emma Frost, the White Queen, who apparently has unlocked her second mutation, which, for those of you who've ever read the comics, know she has the ability to make her skin as hard as diamonds, which is what kept her alive in there. So she gets escaped, she pretty much gets let out, and they begin to continue their search until they get a basically a message from none other than the creator of the Sentinels himself, stating that he will explain everything at the Capitol building. He'll take care of all the rest. So they fly over. While this is going on, we have Rogue in New Mexico or Mexico City. I forget which one it is. Doesn't matter. She gets in, takes out all the guys, gets to the guy who is controlling everything, and she absorbs his memory to get the information that she needs on the creator of the Sentinels. So she blacks out, finds herself with Nightcrawler and the rest of the X Men, and all of them go into the Capitol building together. Before this, I do apologize. We have an interaction between Sunspot and Jubilee going to see Sunspot's mother to explain that he's a mutant. So she pretty much knew he was a mutant already, but was waiting for him to tell her. The problem is she wants to keep it a secret so she can keep her business going and the money flow. And Jubilee and Sunspot are not thrilled about that. But that's pretty much the end of that piece. So we get to New Mexico. We find the creator of the Sentinels. They now get into the lowest part where we keep seeing OZT, which I'll explain a little bit later, what that means in the comics. He goes to jump off the building. Rogue stops him and explains that she needs to know everything. Excuse me. She needs to know everything that he knows. And he says, that's everything. And she goes, good, and drops him. So it's thought that he's dead. Turns out he's apparently been spliced, thanks to Mr. Sinister, with Sentinel energy. So basically, he's a Sentinel human hybrid, which is a thing in the comics, which we'll talk a little bit later. So he now comes in and he took out Rogue in one shot, started going after the rest of the X Men one by one, and in fact almost kills them all, or basically nullifies all of them almost, until Cable himself comes out and uses an EMP to shut down the Sentinel. And that's when Cable basically explains that if we don't fix this problem now, there's not going to be a future. And that's the end of that piece. So, one of the big things here is we see the guy who was absorbed by Rogue in a hospital bed where a man covers his mouth and chokes him until death, and he leaves. We then see this same man who's talks to Mr. Sinister and explaining that we have a job to do and that I don't care that the Sentinel hybrids weren't ready. We need to show this population that war is coming, right? And then we have this guy going to see a weakened Magneto who is still alive, chained up with a collar around his neck, and explaining that he's going to have so much fun with him. And that, my friends, is the end of the episode. So, a couple things here. OZT stands for Operation Zero Tolerance, which is apparently an X Men comic book story arc, which I believe is when very powerful Sentinels come to take out mutants. Basically, you couldn't tell the difference between a Sentinel and a human at one point, if I remember correctly. Then that main villain who we weren't expecting is Bastion. Bastion is a villain from the X-Men comics who is big with the Sentinels and has the ability, I believe, to control the Sentinels mentally. I don't think it's a mutant ability. I think it has to do with technology, but he has the ability to control um, and have Sentinels basically do whatever the heck he wants. So apparently, Bastion is the main villain of this season of X-Men 97. So I'm very curious in the sense of like, is it going to lead to Apocalypse somehow getting involved? My apology. I'm very curious to see because we're seeing very powerful hybrids of humans and machinery that most likely will lead to Apocalypse taking over. But it's unclear at this point in time. We still have 3 episodes left, so it very well could be true, but we'll have to wait and see. Because I know in X-Men Legends 2, Age of Apocalypse, Bastion was sort of working with working with Apocalypse. So I'm very curious if that be the case in this show. Um, Other than that, I thought this was an excellent episode. Had great fight scenes, um, and also introduced the animated cinematic universe, or the animated universe, I guess you would say, in the sense of seeing that we know for a fact that Hulk exists and the fact that Captain America exists. So we'll have to wait and see if there's any more cameos left in this season. Other than that, let me know what you guys thought about this episode in the comments down below. Did you like it? Did you not? And why? And as always, if you like the content you see, please make sure to like and subscribe down below. Other than that, this is going to be Beastly Eel signing out. Have a great night.